Hey, what's up guys, Diplex here again. Welcome back to Men of War Assault Squad 2 and Rob's Realism mod. Super excited to be back here again with another battle. Today we're doing a tug of war. It's going to be massive. Over 1,000 soldiers will be fighting over the two bridges here of Druzhina. This map came with the Heroes of Stalingrad mod and map pack available over in the Steam Workshop. All of the maps are based off of Red Orchestra 2, and of course the Red Orchestra 2 maps have historical ties, so I suppose you could call them historical maps as well. Super excited. This map is huge. It's got the two bridges. It's got perfect detail. For this kind of map size, if you go over the board with the detail, it will be very laggy, but I think we're going to have a very enjoyable experience. So check out the maps on the workshop. I do believe they're made by M. Klinger. Fantastic work as well. There's the grain elevator as well. There's the I don't remember the names exactly, but if you've played Red Orchestra 2 like I have, you will recognize the maps instantly. They're very recognizable. This is just very cool. Bridges of Druzhina. So before we start today's battle, I thought I'd go through quickly what we're about to enjoy, so that everyone's up to speed, so to speak, right? So we're doing a tug of war, and as always, one team will be spawning on one side of the map, and the other team will be spawning opposite of that part of the map. So the Soviets will be arriving from here, making their way across the open here over the bridge and through the forest into the city, whereas the Germans will be arriving from a part of the bigger city, so to speak, across the bridge and into the city straight away, through the ruins and whatnot in the streets, and then meeting the Russians somewhere around here at the outskirts of this part of the town. So to make things interesting, this time around we're not going to go with even numbers. I don't think it's very historically accurate to do so, and usually the map isn't always that even. In this case, the Germans have an advantage in terms of terrain. The Soviets have to cross a lot of open ground here. And if they're engaged with the Germans, it'll be somewhere around the outskirts here, and the Germans are going to have an advantage in terms of terrain. So, and cover, of course. So, I've decided to give the Soviets 66% more soldiers. So, per wave, and all the waves are deployed at the same time, so to speak, or the two factions' reinforcements come in simultaneously, right? So, when a wave of reinforcements hits, the Soviets will be receiving 55 soldiers, and the Germans will be receiving 33. So that's another 22 for the Soviets. And the way I've done it is I've divided all the squads into squads of 11 men. So the Germans will be receiving 3 squads of 11 men, and the Soviets will be receiving 5 squads of 11 men. And that's to match the historical numbers at this time. I suppose this is early 1943 or late 1942 when the Soviets really stepped it up with numbers and whatnot. So I think that'll be really good. And it also really works with the map, which is somewhat advantageous for the Germans, seeing as they come from more cover and have an easier approach to get to the center. The Soviets have to cross all this open ground. And I mean, it's not necessarily harder to approach it, but once the shit goes down, I think the Germans are going to be at a slight advantage. All right, all talk aside, let's get the battle started. We're going to allow the 4 center officers to duel it out before the rest of the infantry arrives. We have the 2 German soldiers approaching here on the right side, and another 2 Soviet officers down here below. Okay, the Germans are going to be the first to make contact. So, we've got 2 separate duels here, officer versus officer. We'll see who wins first. So we don't have any focused fire. They've decided to split up the targets here. So the 2 Soviets are down here by the bushes, and the 2 Germans are standing out in the open. One's gonna go back behind cover here, but his friend is out in the open. He should be taking fire from both of the officers now, because the other guy's in cover. As the other Soviet officer swap target. No, he's laying in wait here, waiting for the other guy to appear. So it's still a one-on-one in this situation. Okay, reloading that gun sounds like reloading a T-34. Except it's just a TT. Perhaps he fixed a jam. I think there's a universal jam fixing sound in this game or mod, so don't be confused. Okay, so the Soviets are storming ahead now. I think the rest of the infantry is starting to arrive in the rear to back them up. This is very close right now. They're going to come under fire from the supporting infantry further back. Oh, this is close. Oh, and the Soviet officer is going to come out alive on that one, but he was hit as well. 1 German officer remaining now. Look at that P-38. Oh, there goes another Soviet. Oh, he's alive, but he's in cover. but he's been taking a lot of Ooh, and the second Soviet officer is dead as well. So the first casualty in the officer battle was a German, and it looked bad for the other one, but he stood strong and took cover and killed one and received enough support to get the other guy killed down here as well, probably a K-98. So 33 soldiers have arrived here in the first wave. On the Soviet side, we've got 55, so that's a big advantage in terms of numbers. But as you can tell, as I said, I thought about it, the Germans were going to arrive here first. That little lag there is the second wave being deployed, so that's another 55 Soviets arriving on this side, as you can tell. Coming in a huge storm over the map, and I'm quickly going to go to the other side of the map here to show you the 33 Germans arriving as well. So a lesser number, but once again, tactically superior location here at the start. But things can change quickly if the Soviets get the upper hand. The German numbers will be less efficient, so to speak, when fighting even ground or uneven ground against the Soviets. So I'm super excited. 2 minutes in between each wave. After 5 waves have been deployed during the course of 10 minutes, there will be a 5-minute break, and that's when the two armies will really get an idea or a chance to really do a lot of good work. So that I'm very excited for. Oh, dude, the Soviets are pushing ahead. They're taking a lot of casualties. They're moving up. The Germans are holding the center ruin here. I like the lack of balance, so to speak. I suppose in numbers there's no balance, right? But overall, the battle is very nicely balanced considering the map and weaponry. I still think the MG34 is superior to the DP-27 or the DT-29 that the Russians are using. I do believe in this case they're using the DP-27. Smaller ammo capacity, and the MG34 just an overall better weapon of suppression. But German small arms superiority throughout the war is generally a myth. So both armies are pushing ahead now, which is kind of rare. Usually one army is always on the retreat while the other one is on the attack, so to speak. But in this case, both armies are pushing ahead. We can see slight pullbacks now on the Soviet side as opposed to previously when they were all pushing forward. Some are crawling back, some are moving back. We can see it all over. And that sets the general mindset of these soldiers here. But do keep in mind, another 55 Soviet soldiers are on the way here, which is gonna boost their morale, rather. And you can see now they're starting to crawl ahead. More Germans have arrived as well, and they're gonna fortify the ruins further. So the battle doesn't have a lot of combat width at the moment. They're all really pretty much focused here in the center, which is a shame. We have a few Germans moving up on the side here. We see a few casualties. But this is just a handful of soldiers compared to the greater mass in the center. Some Soviets are moving on the side as well. The more the battle lasts, or the longer it lasts, rather, the more of a spread out attack we're gonna see. We might even see a few soldiers around this area here. That's my future hope, to see a truly spread out battle. But the terrain in general prevents a lot of the individual movement, so to speak, making the soldiers spread out. In the end, they all kind of turn into a column of infantry when attacking the enemy. The Germans are holding firmly here, despite the disadvantage in manpower. The Soviets have a nice spread, but they lack cover right now, attacking in the open. I really wanted to make this battle to show off the map as well. It's a really nice map, to be honest. Love the bridges, love the open grounds here in this detailed city with all the ruins and, you know, signs of war. It's very nice. Another wave has arrived. You can see them spreading out all over the area here around the bridge and afterwards. I believe that's the 5th and final wave of reinforcements for now. Could be the 4th. If we get a small freeze lag in another 2 minutes, we know that that's the 5th one for sure. A lot of soldiers have been deployed, but then it's up to the soldiers currently on the battlefield to do as good as possible for the following 5 minutes, because neither of the two sides will be receiving any reinforcements. And then we'll see a swarm of soldiers for a whole minute. Every 10 seconds a wave will be deployed. And then after that, a small break, and then the return to the normal pace with one wave every 2 minutes. Until one of the sides win, I suppose. Or we could be looking at another 5-minute break after that. So the Germans have started pulling back now. We can see the general mindset as soldiers are preferring to sit behind cover here instead of advancing. Some back here are moving up as well. We're taking it very easy over on this side, but we're starting to spread out more to the left. I think we'll see Soviets move up to the sandbags here and spread their attack out a little bit. They're very focused right now. Yep, the Soviets are definitely being the more aggressive right now, moving up. But the Germans are countering it as well by moving out of cover to meet the Soviets in the open. Crazy stuff. Never seen this kind of aggression from both sides. They're really encouraged by the reinforcements they're receiving, despite the difference in numbers and terrain, of course. Both of the sides are super aggressive. So the constant flow of reinforcements really adds to the AI morale, so to speak. We have a few soldiers laying down over here. It's almost like they're in a squad. And more of the combat is spreading out to the side here. The whole building is just lit up. Look at all that glass falling everywhere and the debris. Oh, it's crazy. They're pushing up here on the right side. Let's look at the soldiers over here. Look, we got that PPSH. Oh! They're gonna backpedal for a bit. Yeah, that 5-minute break is coming into effect right now. So both of the sides will have to rely on the soldiers they currently have deployed. No more reinforcements for a few minutes. And the Germans are taking advantage of that. They've kept more soldiers alive, it seems. despite the fact that the Soviets have deployed hundreds of more soldiers already, just under these 5 waves. Practically just about 100 to be precise. Slightly more, so that's interesting. Yeah, they're pulling back now. So they're going to be retreating down to the bridge, potentially also the trenches they have back here. So this might serve the Soviets greatly, because the Germans are forced to come out of their advantageous high ground position, right? Like you can see them setting down over here, but they're going to start forming an attack formation, and they're going to be moving out. So we got some soldiers moving down on the left side, about a squad, and the rest of the company is going to be advancing down the right side here. We can see a lot of bodies left after the battle here that took place, and now there's a slight silence spreading over the battlefield as the Soviets are disengaging, and the Germans are following behind closely. But yeah, as I said, once the Soviets get back down across the bridge, if they do choose to retreat that far. Look, we've got casualties all the way back here. That's crazy. Bullets that have hit, like stray bullets, because none of these soldiers have been targeted. Must be just stray bullets from above, which is crazy that they've hit people down here and killed them. I think that's fascinating, to be honest. Then they're going to pull back, take up these trenches and other cover, and the Germans that will be approaching down here without cover will find themselves in a tricky situation, and that might turn the tide of the battle, so to speak. But do remember, in just a few minutes now, we'll see a swarm of soldiers from each side. So that's going to be really interesting. The Germans are continuing their counterattack down the forest. So, who are you guys cheering for right now? You don't have to post it in the comment section. Just think about which team you're cheering for right now. The Germans are numerically inferior. 66% more soldiers on the Russian side. 2/3. That's a lot of soldiers. So far, they're doing good. I think it's the MG34s are doing great. The MP40s, I wouldn't put them at any superior rating to the PPSH. The PPSH rate of fire and ammo capacity is great for close quarter engagement. Perhaps the MP40 is somewhat more of a controllable and stable weapon at range. The MG34, in my opinion, beats the DP27. But the Mosin Nagant versus the K98, in a way, you could say that the Russian Mosin won them the war, along with, of course, the massive amount of tanks and whatnot as well. But in the end, this is the main battle rifle. Yeah, they've retreated across the river now. They're going to be taking up positions. Do we have any here in the trench? No one here on this side. Well, that's shocking. And no one on the right side. The Russians have just retreated in an interesting pattern. This is the first time I'm seeing this. I've tested this scenario a few times, and I've seen a Soviet retreat, but it was like covering more of the entire map, especially this side as well. So we had the trenches filled. And this time around, the German flank around us kind of made them retreat to one specific direction. Oh, the first wave of extra reinforcements is arriving. Look at that storm. 55 soldiers coming in here fast, followed 10 seconds later by another 55. So 110 men already, and in just a couple of seconds, there we go. That's going to make this 165 soldiers. And in just a few seconds later, we're going to be looking at over 200 Russians. Meanwhile, the Germans have barely received 100 men. Obviously, since they only have 3 Germans per every 5 Soviet soldiers, so that's interesting. Sometimes I might forget to say Soviet, I might say Russian instead, and it's just a thing that it has to do with what I'm used to saying. But I do realize the big differences between the Soviet Union and Russia today, of course. So a lot of nationalities that we know today didn't technically exist during World War II. I suppose the ethnic groups existed that fought for the Soviet Union, right? But it's more fair to call these men Soviets, since if I call them only Russians, all of those ethnic groups that fought for the Soviet Union back then wouldn't be covered by the word Russians. And I'm very aware of that, so do keep that in mind. It's not something I'm doing intentionally. Look at that push. Now, the Germans are at an extra disadvantage now because it's going to take them a lot longer to receive the reinforcements. The first couple of waves are starting to arrive down here now. And this is going to turn into a bridge battle with large numbers here on the Soviet side. Of course, the Germans have received... what's 33 by 5? Like, or 6 or whatever it is. But let's just say 5 for the sake of it. It's, what, 150 something? I'm not doing head maths right now. I'm thinking about the commentary. And the Soviets, man, 55 by 5. So that's over 250, man. Crazy stuff. And the battle is going to go down here near the bridge. We've got Soviets in the shallow water in the river. We've got more men here on the right side as well. This is nice to see, too, that we finally have a larger combat with. And we've got Soviets crossing the bridge and taking over it. And the Germans engaging now from every direction. Look at the cover here behind the logs. They're going to be spreading out nicely as well here on the left side, too. They're going to battle them everywhere. I think the Soviets are going to have a larger and more advantageous combat with right now. Able to kind of like encircle the Germans or slightly kind of swing around them, so to speak. It's hard to fully explain what I mean by it, but I think you can understand what I mean. The Germans are going to have a more focused attack in the center, whereas the Russians will be able to cover a larger area on the sides and kind of like engulf and wrap over the Germans. Kind of like you wrap an apple in a towel. If the Germans are that firm apple, the Soviets are that big towel or cloth or whatever you wrap your fruit in. I don't personally wrap fruit for whatever reason you'd wrap fruits, but some do. They're that big piece of cloth or whatever that you wrap that apple in and you just kind of engulf it, kind of just like close it in, you know, like kind of way of the way a Alright, I'm gonna stop comparing things. I'm just going off track. We've got it's a little laggy right now. I didn't expect this. A lot of soldiers have survived, but I think that's heavy boost of reinforcements really caught up with the game. We'll see who starts losing out first. The Soviets have so many numbers that despite the fact that they've taken so many casualties, they're just dropping here in the river. They're still pushing ahead. This is what I'd like to avoid, these kind of slideshow gameplays. 1 million men battle for Berlin. 1 million men battle for Stalingrad. Whoa! Except if I did title my videos like that, you'd see 1 million men, so. But yeah, this is the kind of effect you get from something like that. One, you get cheated. There's not 1 million men here, and you will never see 1 million men. And two, the gameplay is a slideshow. Luckily, this is 1 out of every 100 Men of War videos I do, and they're not intentional. The fact that this many soldiers are still alive causing this lag is just... It's just life, but don't worry, they'll die out pretty soon. Look at this guy. He wants that Iron Cross running down the center with that MP40. And then he's gonna crawl back. That bullet in his left arm hurt like a son of a bitch. No, but he's still putting fire. The Soviets control the bridge, but for how long? Did another wave of reinforcements just arrive? I would be wrong to say no. So that is true. They did just arrive. This is a long-ass battle. I don't know what I've lined myself up for here. We're going to be here for 28 hours. But don't you get the sense of realism with this many soldiers going into the fray and dying and shit? I do. I really do. But this is crazy. Oh boy. Oh man. Well, they're oh, but that's so cool. Wait, that's so cool. That is so cool. Let's take a little screenshot. I think it's been a while since we did screenshots with Diplex. Look at all the soldiers here and the gun smoke or the whatever dust you want to call it. Fairy dust. And then, like, look at him, like, dropping down there on his knees. So he's been shot. Rest in peace, Yuri. How do I deselect this fucking... Thank you. Okay, that didn't work the first 58 times I tried it. Look how cool that is when he's just like, ugh. Uratura shtik maladie. Oh, that is so cool. He's like, ugh. We can watch the battle in a little zoom in. Oh, hey, that is so cool. Hey, I'm going nuts here, guys. I'm gonna excuse me for doing this. A lot of people enjoy this screenshot stuff. If you don't, you're artistically inept, and I'm gonna go ahead and call you a simpleton, because this is stuff you just don't get anywhere else. This is a look in. This is a exclusive look at this stuff, whatever this is. Look, he's like, oh, uratura shtik maladia. I'm just saying random Russian things that I've heard in video games. The rifle's going to drop down there. We got another soldier behind there. You want to see the chaos of the situation. I think this gives you a good idea of it. And we don't want any hovering hands or anything like that. Like, hovering hands makes me sad. So we don't want any hovering hands. Okay, we got some people reloading. Whatever. It's less important. What do we have? Do we have any, like, additional weaponry? Do we have any other guns? Look, a DP is always appreciated. I mean, if you don't enjoy a DP, then I mean, what man doesn't enjoy some DP action? Here we go. There's the DP. There's the zoom in. Here's the Soviets. Action. Smile. Say cheese. Cheers to you. All right. And then we're going to unpause. And we can enjoy this in this still zoomed in fashion, right? Until you become nauseous because of the extreme field of view. So we're going to go ahead and zoom out of that. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think this is the vanilla. No, this is one too far. That's good. Okay, can I deselect you as well? There we go. The Germans are pushing down. Despite the inferior numbers, and I'd say almost the inferior position in this case, they're beating the Soviets to a standstill. Some are trying to get over here, but they're getting slaughtered by this ridge. This is kind of cool. Like, they're trying to hold it. Now they've just kind of like pushed back here. I think the Soviets are going to have to pull back to the other trenches here, despite the fact that more reinforcements are arriving. This is madness. My computer's going to die. I'd like it not to. Can we just enjoy the battle from a little bit of distance here and keep the camera close for a second so we don't get people nauseous? Okay, we can kind of see what's going on here. A lot of constant shooting. The Germans have another wave. So I think this is the third or fourth wave now before it ends, before it just ends. And then every side has deployed all their forces today. It'll be over 1,400 soldiers in total. Crazy, crazy, crazy if you think about it. So half of 1,400 is 700 men. So the Germans have not got 700 men because that would mean the Russians have 700 men. The Russians have 66% more. So like 500 Germans and 900 Russians, or Soviets rather. I think that's about the total. I can look exactly. I just need to do it. So 15 waves in total, I do believe. So 15 times 33 is 495. I was very damn right to believe it was around 500. 495 Germans, ein Bataillon. And then the, let's say the big battalion or the regiment of Russians attacking would be 55 by 15, which is 825. Okay, the FPS is going up. Wait a minute, I think the Soviets are pulling this back. The Germans seem to have lost the momentum. Now, I don't know why these guys are all sitting still. Can they move? I'm sure. They're not on hold position, are they? No. They're just paralyzed. I think they're a little frozen because of the water. And ultimately, I think they don't dare to move up as much because of all the Germans under the side, so they're better off to remain down here right now, shooting from cover. We got some Russians moving up behind here as well. Look at all the casualties here on the bridge. This bridge is littered with dead. It's a cool fucking bridge battle. What do you expect, Simon? No, I'm not saying I expect anything else. I'm just saying this is a fucking epic bridge battle. I'd like to take another one here with all the casualties, but perhaps that's for a later day. Fucking cool, man. This is history. Family-friendly history. Let's take a look at some of the casualties early on here. Oh, man. Wait, it's so laggy I can't even... There we go. They're all red now. We're going to separate them into yellow and red soon, but this shows you how crazy these things are. The Soviets are moving up now. Are we going to see them inching up over the hill? The Germans have come to a slight standstill, too. No, the Russians are... Goddamn it, I don't intend to do it. It's just a mind thing. It just comes automatically, right? So the Soviets are moving up as well. On either side. I think if they pushed hard on this side, they'd get a good advantage. Why are you guys not using this beautiful trench? Look how cool this trench is. This is a beautiful trench. Here we go. This trench being used. And even one more wave of units for both sides, like it wasn't enough already, but we're still hitting that 1,410 men or whatever the total will be. 1,420 or so. The Germans are still pushing down. Isn't it cool how the battle started up there and it might end down here, or it could end on the opposite side of the map with the Germans pulling back? To me, that is just fantastically cool. They're holding their ground here, though, the attacking Germans. Yeah, I think the weapons are new in this mod as well. The K98 skin is new, as far as I'm concerned. Look at him. How cool is that? They're crawling up. They're advancing. The Soviets are retreating. And not at the same time. They're also pushing ahead. Look, they're starting to storm up over the water now. Ура! Ура, Тура! Штык молодец! Они drop it. Они drop me? Or whatever they say. I can't remember. Look at that. Come on, Soviets. Look at that close quarter. Oh, dude, there's so much fire here. The few Russians that make it over here just take so much focused fire. I think they're safer to almost approach. There's little cover here, but they need to just make a combined push here. Look at that PPSH going at it again. Is that another wave? Really? Yeah, that's another wave. I think this is the last one, though, unless I've done some extremely weird calculations that turns this into an infinity fight. But I don't expect this to be an infinity fight. You're trying. We got, look, two MG34s back here in a supportive position. They're just laying down there. They're halting, or they're stopping rather. They're not moving. Stellung bleiben. And they're just ready to return fire. Look at all the bullets impacting here. Crazy. Yeah, they're trying to cross the bridge. They've got soldiers moving across now. Look at that. Look at this machine gunner. How far will he crawl? He's gonna cross this bloody bridge. That's what he's told himself. Look, they're pushing the Germans back. Hoorah. Dude, are you gonna stop the fire? Okay, I would have liked to see just stay down and crawl, but okay. Yeah, we're starting to move up now. We're pushing the Germans back. This could be the start of a Soviet counterattack. We've got a lot of manpower, but so did the Germans. But look, the Soviets are actually starting to get above the water now. Oh, we're going to follow this PPSH soldier. We're going to follow one soldier at a time. Is he alive? You know, we're not going to be following them for long since, well, the Diplex curse, they all just die. So this guy might get shot any second now. Or randomly just die. And if that happens, then, you know that's because of the curse. Not him, but this guy here. But I don't think there's a curse. I don't think there's a Diplex curse that just makes all the soldiers or things I watch die or explode. I've been freed by whatever curse was on me previously. It's gone now. None of the alike will happen. Ever. So we can watch this Soviet soldier do his work in peace. And I'm thoroughly excited about that. Finally, we can follow some characters. Look at him. He's working that PPSH. Wow, look at him go. Oh. Ah, he's just laying down a rest. Don't worry. The Germans are counterattacking. Well, what? Well, the lag is pretty much entirely gone. Was that another wave? No. It's all quiet here on the Eastern Front. No reinforcements are making their way up, and it's down to the remaining Germans and Soviets. How can the Germans have done so much more damage? 66% more Soviets. Like, 2/3 more. And the Germans are still winning, it seems. Or they're not losing drastically. They've at least pushed the Soviets back so far, but we see some more Soviets moving up now. No one's really been using hand grenades either, which is a shame, but no one's gotten that close, I suppose. Maybe it's the cool trench coats. But both sides have the coats. Come on. Or great coats, rather. Hey, what the fuck? He was shot down and he just stood up again. He made a backflip and he's up again. I don't know what that's about. Is he gonna do that again? No, I'm calling shit if he does. Call him bullshit. But he's fine. Look at that guy just blowing his head off. Or not his head. Family-friendly channel. Just the helmet. He's fine. No body parts are gone. Anya drop. Anya dropnia. Or Anya drop. Anya droppa. Anya dropnia. Anya drop. I can't remember what it's exactly. After a long and hard fight, the Soviets are still controlling the bridge. With manpower. I feel like they're pushing ahead now, but I have no idea what the remaining numbers are like. The German presence on this side seems a little quiet. They've got a few soldiers up here. By the logs. And the imminent lag again makes me wonder if there's more troops spawning in. Nope. It's just when I'm looking over these massive graveyards of soldiers. Oh, look, they're pushing ahead. That guy did a little wiggle back there. Yeah, this is turning into a bit of a standstill. Like, they're coming to a... Numbers have balanced themselves out, it seems. There's not a lot of Soviets remaining. There's hardly any alive on this side, even. They're all practically dead here. There's a few on the bridge and the bottom part here, but the most are up here by the shoreline, or the river line, or whatever you want to call it. Same with the Germans. None really anywhere back behind here. All pretty much pushed ahead. Let's open up the mini-map. I want to see... Oh, man, dude. This is fucking even as hell. Holy... Look at that. Despite the massive advantage in manpower, the German weaponry and skill of arms and whatnot and training has proved to be superior. That guy ran into that guy with a PPSH. So that... This is super close. Can we count? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 Soviets, presumably, versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So, five number difference advantage for the Germans, it seems. Despite it all. Despite the fact that you guys have been given hundreds of more soldiers. Jeez. Maybe this retreat will prove fruitful. Yeah, crawl down. Oh, there you go. Crawl down. There you go. Oh, yeah. Sit right there. Or, yeah, perfect. Get your friends down there, too. There's plenty of room for everyone. Come on, Yuri and Ivan and everyone. Perfect. Ivan, where are you going? My father was lumberjack. I want to sit behind the wood. Well, there's wood back there too. I like logs. Alright. Okay there, Mr. Helmet Man. If our trench isn't good for you, okay, stick to your logs. This guy was like literally ducking, like any moment now I'm gonna get hit. My friend will just soak it up behind me. And that just happened. Now he's gonna teabag him for that? Or is he like trying to keep him... Check him for valuables. Okay, none. Alright, let's move back. Isn't there in the movie enemy behind enemy gates, there's like German a German looter, a soldier who's literally looting dead bodies, like I suppose you can call him a desertist or something like that, or a deserter. But pretty crazy stuff. Looting happened on all sides, of course. Everyone did take shit, you know. A lot of soldiers went in with a lot of valuable things, you know, like that they pretty much just had, or that they had taken, I suppose. So, I mean, look at Band of Brothers, the way that the airborne just when they went into one of that German towns, then they just went to like grab all the silver cutlery and whatnot and all that stuff, and just went to the local army postal office or whatever and just said, here, ship this home. And stuff like that. I suppose mostly officers that had the ability to do so and priority and whatnot, but a lot was looted. A lot of valuables have been misplaced throughout the war. A lot of art, too, and whatnot has been stolen and fought over and whatnot. Back and forth, all that stuff. Whoa. The Germans have pushed back. The counterattack has been successful. Look at the water, it's red. But at what cost? We're going to find out. We're going to take a look at the Russians will be, or the Soviets will be in red, the Germans will be in yellow. And, oh man, this is just painted art. You can see the clear patterns of casualties here, and then up here as well. This is where the Russians lost their ground, but down here I don't see a huge difference. Crazy indeed, absolutely crazy, as the last Soviets are being pushed back and the Germans are going to claim victory despite the numerical inferiority. I'm so sad we didn't get any action up here in the city itself. Perhaps I'd have to give the Russians twice as many men, which would be another 100%, or another 33% of the total of Germans given to the Russians on top of that 66%. Crazy stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys soon again. Ciao.